Hi, and thank you for joining. This is it's just a conspiracy theory. There's no need to worry, right? It's just a conspiracy theory. But there was a link that I found. It was by Fritz Springmeier, 13 Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And I've read all of these, and I've taken notes, but I'm not going into it on my perspective. It's just history. This is a reading in history. So sit back and relax. Like I said, if you've ever felt like reading this article and you haven't had time, I'm going to try and read it to the best of my ability so that you can comprehend. I am sure that I'm going to mispronounce some words, but I know you'll forgive me. So I'm going to try to get through each paragraph without messing up. And if I don't, I'll clear up what I messed up. But I don't want to keep starting over because it's really interesting. So, a third time, sit back and relax. And let's get started into the skill of lying, the art of deceit, the Disney bloodline. The Illuminati have refined the art of deception far beyond what the common man has imagined. The very life and liberty of humanity requires the unmasking of their deceptions. This is what this book is about. Honesty is a necessary ingredient for any society to function successfully. Deception has become a national pastime, starting with our business and political leaders and cascading down to the grassroots. The deceptions of the Illuminati's mind control may be hidden, but in their wake they are leaving tidal waves of distrust that are destroying America. While the CIA pretend to have our nation's best interest at heart, anyone who has seriously studied the consequences of deception on a society will tell you that deception will seriously damage any society until it collapses. Lies seriously damage a community because trust and honesty are essential to communication and productivity. Trust in some form is a foundation upon which humans build relationships. When trust is shattered, human institutions collapse. If a person distrusts the words of another person, he will have difficulty also trusting that the person will treat him fairly, have his best interest at heart, and refrain from harming him. With such fears, an atmosphere of death is created that will eventually work to destroy or wear down the cooperation that people need. The millions of victims of total mind control are stripped of all trust, and they will quietly spread their fears and distrust on a subconscious level throughout society. One problem about lies is that one lie will call for another and then another. It's hard to keep lies single. They seem to want to breed more of their kind to protect themselves. Soon the liar becomes a victim of his own lies, trapped in a dishonest web that demands lots of energy to protect his false fronts. This is the sad fate that the intelligence agencies have painted themselves into. They must maintain groups that oversee their double agents' lies to ensure that the lies that they have disseminated don't contradict themselves. Finally, they have put out so much disinformation, they lose track of reality themselves. Far from saving this nation, the intelligence agencies have spread the cancer of deception into all walks of life so that this cancer is contaminating and killing anything of value in the United States. The soon-to-come death of this nation's sovereignty, as well as the destruction of this nation's morals, are the result of this cancer. People who have attended high-level Illuminati meetings were instructed in how the Illuminati plan to bring in the NWO Antichrist reign by making everything appear as if it has happened naturally. The Illuminati have decided to camouflage their actions with the creation of normalcy to avert any suspicions. An example of something which appears to have happened naturally is the O.J. Simpson case, which was planned based on previous murder scenarios which had been successfully covered up. O.J. Simpson was a CIA mind-controlled slave, and the entire Simpson case was concocted as an elaborate effort to cause racial tensions. The Mishpucha, the CIA, the mob, and the Illuminati have all had their dirty hands involved in the entire affair. The entire affair reeks of manipulation and planning. It is not the goal of this paragraph to go into the case, but just to drop a couple of details. Joey Ippolito Jr. is both CIA and mob. Ippolito at one time lived in Hallandale, Florida, a mob housing subdivision which was protected by a police force run by the mob. He has helped run drugs and wet ops for the combination which interconnects with the Illuminati. O.J. Simpson's friend Collins worked for Joey Ippolito, as well as O.J. Simpson. Simpson distributed cocaine for Joey Ippolito and the combination. Simpson's lawyer is also tied to the Illuminati, the CIA, and the mob. One of his lawyers on TV said the trial reeked of government corruption. Nicole Simpson lived next door to Carl Colby, former CIA Director Bill Colby's son. Colby's wife and kids have been subjected to mind control. Colby's wife testified in O.J. Simpson's trial, but was addressed as Miss Bo rather than by her name. O.J. Simpson's mother worked for a California state mental hospital in San Francisco for 30 years. Many state mental workers have children who have been programmed. When one of the jurors in Simpson's case, Tracy Hampton, had her mind control programming go haywire, she began staring for long periods at a blank TV and hearing voices. She had to be dismissed. During the Simpson trial, Judge Ito gave Joe McGinnis the best front row seat that a journalist could have. Joe McGinnis was the cover-up author who wrote a book covering up about the McDonald-Fort Bragg drug smuggling case. The McDonald-Fort Bragg drug smuggling case involved the Illuminati drug smuggling operation within the United States military during the Vietnam War. On and on the stink goes. The manipulation of history by those in power has been well covered over. An example of how mind control and its role in manipulation of events has been covered up by the perpetrators in an article written in the Journal of the American Medical Association in the September 11, 1967 volume 201, number 11 issue. The article, which was submitted to the magazine from 3 CIA doctors, Mark, Sweet, and Irvin, claims that riots are caused by brain disease. While the article is correct in the subpoint that only a small percentage of underprivileged urban dwellers participate in many of the riots, the article's thesis is obviously a slide to prevent people from catching on that the small number of deviants who create riots might be under mind control or might have some other motivation beyond simply being brain disease. Any deception, whether it is an exaggeration or an understatement of the NWO's capabilities, is considered a useful deception for the Illuminati's double agents to spread. The German battleship the Bismarck was sunk due to a little lie sent to Germany by a double agent which underestimated the range of British radar. The Germans, thinking they were out of British radar, made some bad decisions that cost them the battleship. Deception diminishes power. Knowledge is power, and lies diminish the knowledge of deceived dupes, and therefore diminishes the power of the deceived. Deception obscures the alternatives that people have. It also clouds up various objectives people would work toward. Some people give up certain objectives due to their misperceptions that the objective is undesirable or unattainable. Programmed deceptions. In the programming, colors and directions are used. Be prepared to find out that sometimes programmers use their creative imaginations, such as using the color octarine or the direction turnwise, or perhaps Wittershins. During the most fundamental programming, which is done via LSD trips and sensory deprivation tank to lay in foundations of the alpha, beta, delta, omega, and theta programs, each programming memory will be given a code. When one popular programming deception takes place that the programmer knows ahead of time to sequence his memory codes, so that instance, the 5th memory is coded as a trip, and strenuous methods are used to up the memories of the first 4 trips. Victim's mind will be able to, pardon me, this is kind of hard to read. Victim's mind will be told to forget the 4 trips. The memory codes are deceptively designed to fool the programmer and the victim alike. Part of the reason the programmer does this is that they know that pardon me, this is really hard to read. Part of the reason the programmer does this is that they know that if a therapist should stumble onto these first memories, the backup programming to protect these memories is so severe that the therapist will shatter the victim's mind. Backup programs such as atom bombs and vegetable programming are locked into place to protect the fundamental programs. Be wise as serpents. The Holy Spirit moved an apostle to write, "We are not ignorant of Satan's devices." Christ warned his disciples to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. The Israelites sent out spies before entering the Promised Land. Within the text of The Art of War by Sun Tzu, a book studied today by men in intelligence, he discusses hidden provocation agents. In Book 13, Sun Tzu was born in 534 BC and lived most likely until after the year 453 BC. In 500 BC, some men were farmers and some men were provocateurs. Today, both occupations still exist. The modern American farmer is vastly superior to the ancient farmer of 500 BC. So how does the modern agent provocateur compare? He is vastly superior also. It appears the word of God is accurate, for it warns that God's people will be destroyed for lack of knowledge. The difficulty in obtaining honest information in today's Big Brother world is aptly described by an intelligence asset over the internet. If you are lucky and work hard, you will find some of the truth. If you are lucky and work really hard, you might find the whole truth, as someone wants you to know it. If you are phenomenally lucky and really work your tail off, you might even go on to find the real truth. But no outsiders, and in fact very few outsiders ever learn the whole real truth. This book and our two previous books in mind control are the result of extremely hard work and numerous miracles of God and what non-Christians will call lots of luck. The story behind the book is amazing. This book's two authors have had to swim upstream for years in search for the real truth. One thing is very clear to this author. During the last 7 years of exposing the NWA, almost every person who is believed to be a leader against the NWO has tried to impede the work this author has been doing. People need to be aware that the New World Order created their own opposition long before some of us began sincerely trying to expose it. This author's informed opinion is that essentially all, about 98% of the people leading the opposition to the New World Order are double agents, and no less than 50% of the therapists are double agents. In this state, this author knows as a fact that 50% of the licensed therapists working with programmed DID patients are programmed DID slaves themselves. Recently, one of the therapists in this area, who the false memory spin drone and the Illuminati took down, was a therapist who had also been on a local TV talk show revealing that she was a multiple and a SRA victim. This information to make their double agents look good. Now, I'm going to finish reading this book because it's telling you what these two books, what this book and their two previous books are about. But just to cover, let's just cover these two more tabs, and then we'll cut this one short because I don't want to keep you for too long. You don't want to have to save a video. You want to be able to watch one at a time. So, this information to make the double agents look good. A-Force was MI6's group that carried out deception. They would have their double agents pass out chicken feed, which is what they call classified information that can be thrown out to the public to establish their double agents' credentials, bona fides, as agents against the British. Today, there are numerous anti-NWA people who are actually double agents. They are distributing chicken feed to make people think they are legitimate. By the way, it is interesting to note for those who realize how important carousels are to programming that MI6 is nicknamed Carousel by its daughter organization Mossad, officially aka CIA or aka Central Intelligence Collection Agency. An example of a double agent who is popular among Christians is an Illuminati witch named Gretchen Passantino, who tours around to Christian conferences belittling the idea of mind control. Dr. Loretta Fox reports in the spiritual and clinical dimensions of MPD that 74% of women abused by SRA come from Christian homes. The Christian churches are heavily infiltrated. Okay, I'm messing up. So I'm going to cut here, and I'm going to read this section when I start the next part of the book. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe. Please take a second to subscribe and turn on the notifications because I'm being shadow banned. Thank you again. And part 2 is coming up for the Disney Bloodline.